Hey guys, Taylor Barnard here, driver for the NEOM McLaren Formula E team.
And I'm Sam Bird, and we're here at the NEOM Beach Games, right by the sea, where the triathlon is going to happen. And we're super lucky to be joined not only by some of the best in the business, but two Olympians and Olympic medalists. So, Alex, Georgia, lovely to have you with us. We'd like to speak to you and get your insights into high performance and what you guys do to prepare for races and stuff like that today.
So guys, it's been a really long season. How do you prepare for this season finale?
I think probably the biggest thing at this point of the season in October, November is kind of mentally preparing for it and knowing that it's one final push now. But yeah, I think it's also hard to keep going, I guess, because when we're traveling and racing, you're not training as much, so then it's hard to keep the fitness levels up. So you constantly have to think about that and the races that you really want to peak in, because you can't really peak in every single race. So I mean, Alex knows better than me about peaking at the ones that matter.
But definitely this year is a unique year for us. It being an Olympic year, that kind of comes as the biggest focus of the year. So a lot of our kind of investment and resources goes into that kind of that one day one race in August, and then off the back of that we're just trying to race the best we can, enjoy our racing, and that requires a lot of discipline and focus to kind of stay on track throughout those days, because they talk about post-Olympic blues, and that really is a thing. In my opinion, I think after you have, I'm sure you guys know as well, with such big races, to kind of come down after.
Well, you've had the ultimate high, haven't you? You've literally had the ultimate high.
So it's kind of funny to kind of come off that and then go back into just being really excited to race and focused. But yeah, I feel like I'm there now and excited to be back in racing.
So how, Taylor, are you preparing for the season now? Because you're just going into pre-season, so.
And your first season as well, we hear.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
So what does that look like? Because we're the opposite end, we're finishing our season and you're preparing. So like when do preparations start for you?
Well, I signed about 2 or 3 months ago, so ever since then I've been preparing as much as possible. We have a state-of-the-art simulator which I've been using as much as possible. I think the team are pretty ready with the car that we have. Personally, just trying to keep on top of physical and mental health. I work with a sports psychologist. We've been going through a lot of the things like before a race, how I try to keep my nerves down and keep my focus. But most of the work I would say so far has been on the simulator and just trying to prepare as best as possible for these tests now coming up.
So is a lot of your kind of work put into your driver performance, or do you also work into the development of the car and stuff like that?
Our inputs, what we tell our engineers and our team, do go into back to the engineers. The data never lies, but our input is important as well. We can evolve the software and manipulate the setup with what we individually want. Luckily, we're quite similar with our feedback and how we want the car to behave. So typically, neither of us want a massively understeery car where the front doesn't grip. We both want a car that rotates and turns. Would prefer that than understeer, because understeer is quite slow. So yeah, our feedback is important. With regards to, you've asked Taylor about his preparation, I think mine's fairly similar. A lot of training in the gym. I think I prefer lifting weights than like doing crazy cardio. I enjoy cardio, but I enjoy lifting weights as well. So,
I guess you need to do some form of cardio.
Yeah, no, I do. I do. No, I do.
Like, what would that involve, though? Like
I was just saying,
cycling,
actually, I was saying before to my team. So I've got a Zwift bike at home. I like to do 10, 15, 20k runs.
Okay.
I will get on the stair climber for an hour.
It's
like
mostly indoor training then?
No, out, like
you go
when
run
the weather
outdoors.
permits. Like
Okay.
I live near Bournemouth, so when the weather permits, I'll run around down the beach or go into the New Forest with my bike,
nice.
do stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice. And so, but most of your driving is on the simulator?
Yes.
You don't touch the car? Or?
Well, no, we've got select test days where we will travel abroad and we'll go testing somewhere nice and warm to get real data. But a lot of our time is spent at MTC in Woking, McLaren Technology Centre, and we'll do hundreds and hundreds of laps every day on working not only to to try and improve the car, improve the tyre model in the simulator, so that eventually we can trust the sim enough that we can do setup adjustments in the simulator. We've just recently got a new tyre, so it's the real tyre from Hankook, a different compound, and it's very, very tricky in the simulator to replicate reality.
Okay.
So we're getting there. We're within a tenth, but it's about replicating the feel as well and how the car actually behaves in the corners.
Because when you're sat in the simulator, does it feel pretty much the same when you sit in the car?
It's got to feel as close to reality as possible,
And it
otherwise
does?
there's no point. Well, you don't get the G-force through the body.
Yeah, okay.
You do have yaw, so it does simulate, there is movement in the simulator, so it
Yeah.
moves around a room on
Okay.
a platform like this, but you don't get that G-force when you brake, so you don't get the force through the head like this,
okay.
or lateral G-force
Okay.
when you're cornering. But absolutely, you do get the impression when the car is sliding.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you feel like you're in the car.
Yeah.
So when you put on that helmet and you're sitting on the pit lane and ready to go, how are you feeling? What's going through your mind?
Well, obviously I've only had 2 experiences so far in Formula E, so Formula E specific, the way that we get onto the grid and before the race, how it actually works is slightly different to what I'm used to. So my kind of pre-race routine is definitely going to change, and I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for in terms of pre-race preparation. But I would definitely listen to music or something like that, and we get a little bit more time actually in the car before the race starts. So I'm sure that I'm not sure if I'll try some breathing technique or something, but something to try and calm me down a little bit. But as it's slightly different, I can't give you an exact answer yet, but I'm sure I will be able to soon.
Are you listening to like hyped up music or like chilled?
I guess
You need to like
Yeah.
really.
I guess it kind of depends. Like if I start at the front
Yeah.
and I'm under pressure, it would be more just trying to calm me down.
Okay.
If I'm starting closer to the back and I have to make up some ground, it would definitely be something to try and hype me up and
okay.
get me fired up to try and attack everyone.
Okay. But
So-
you're always like.
Oh yeah, there's a playlist. It's basically my gym playlist. It's very similar. But so prior to jumping in the car, you've gone through everything with your engineer, so you know the plan. Like you've been through it 100 times, you know exactly what you need to do, you know the amount of laps, the energy per lap that you need to try and do, you know what strategy you're going to go for, you roughly know when you're going to be taking your attack modes, you know the start procedure, you understand the plan that the team has implemented for you and how it should play out. Of course, all of these things change and you've got plan A, B, C, D, E, but then once you're strapped in, the belts are tight, you can feel your heart rate rise. So I do 3 deep breaths, and on the first breath I tell myself, right, I'm calm. On the second breath I'm relaxed, and on the third breath I'm confident, and I can genuinely feel my shoulders drop, my hands soften on the steering wheel, and my heart rate just goes down 10, 15 beats.
Wow.
And it's like, right, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah.
And then it's like laser beam focus on what I need to do and focus on the lights.
How much time do you need before the start of the race? When do you get to race site?
So
Like, how long
we
do you-
will normally travel on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then we will be with the PR team from basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a bit of Friday. So a lot of PR and media work. And then Friday, most of Friday, we're then in meetings with the race team. And then Saturday, Sunday is racing.
Okay. But on race day, how long do you warm up and?
So we've got 2 practice sessions of 45 minutes each. Then we've got qualifying, and then we've got the race. With regards to physically warming up prior to jumping in the car.
Like arriving at the venue?
Oh,
Are you there hours before?
yeah, hours
Oh,
before.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So I've told you guys about what I do in stressful situations on the start grid, about my breathing technique. Do you have anything similar before you jump in the water, like in a high stressful environment? Is there a breathing technique that you do or something that you've memorized to try and calm yourself down?
I think for me, I'm very process based, so throughout my warm up I'm very specific with what I'm doing, trying to stay on focused on what I'm doing, and that kind of stops me from thinking about kind of the noise that's going on around, whether there's a lot of pressure and everything. So that kind of process-based focus helps me a lot. And then when I'm standing on that start line, just before I'm about to start, I'll just try and stay as present as possible. And the thing I use to kind of keep me on that process if things are going crazy and my mind's starting to wander is I just think, what's next? What's the best thing I can be doing in this situation? And then I try and keep that present mindset throughout the rest of the race, because if you have a bad start to a race, your race can just unravel so quickly. And I'm sure it's the same with you guys. Once one thing goes wrong, you focus on that and you dwell on it. But then I guess for me, I'm trying to just trying to move on from it, and that's the way I find that I'm able to move on the best and stay on the best track with what I'm doing. I'm sure it's.
I think you're kind. I remember you at first World Triathlon race, and you had everything written down by the minute what you were doing. Yeah. Whereas I'm a bit different to that. So I just kind of go with how I feel on the day, because it changes. Usually I'll do a run warm up. We usually get down to race at about 90 minutes before. But Olympic race day, I didn't want to do a run warm up because I didn't want to run into family on the race course, because I knew it would be so emotional for me. So I chose to do a bike warm up. So it kind of just depends at race site how I feel. If it's hot, I won't run. I'll just try and stay cool. Yeah. But then when I'll do my warm up, and I'm quite chatty before the race, so I'm always the one chatting to all the other girls, and I have quite a lot of energy. Race day for me is like Christmas day. I love it. Yeah. So I just have quite a lot of energy, and I'm just excited. And then when I get on the pontoon and I am getting a bit nervous, yeah, kind of, but still, I just tell myself if it becomes overwhelming with nerves, I just it's just a triathlon. I've done so many of these. It is literally just triathlon. I'm not saving anyone's life. I'm just going out there and seeing what my body can do today, and that really calms me down, because I just think
you put it into perspective.
I have to make myself feel really, really small. I don't want to feel important in the world. I just feel really, really tiny. So I'm oh, it's just triathlon. I can do this. It's fine. So that I'm kind of maybe that's a weird way to think, but it makes me just feel small. So then I just feel better and more relaxed about it all, because I just want to go and see what I can do.
I'm similar, but prior to getting in the car, I know I'm speaking to my engineer, but I like to have a laugh as well.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I'm speaking to him about the race. After I've done that, I might have a 10-15 minute period of having to take pictures with people in front of the car and speaking to journalists, stuff like that. But also I like to go to my race team and have a bit of a giggle and stuff like that. It just takes that sort of. Otherwise, I feel like I'm focused for too long, and then I can get negative. Mm-hmm. If I focus for too long about I need to do this, then negative thoughts can creep in. I prefer to literally get in, go.
Yeah. So before the race, I guess you're similar to us. It's an endurance event, and well, for you more so, it's probably getting very hot in the car. So what is your nutrition plan going into a race? How far in advance do you really nail down and focus on your nutrition going into a race?
Probably a week before.
Okay.
Nutrition, I try and be healthy all the way through the year, but hydration is key as well. Really getting on top of your hydration. There's no point doing it 24 hours before, because it'll just go in and it'll just come out again, and it's not doing any good. Especially when we get to some really hot places. As I spoke to Alex before, we've been to Santiago where it's been 40 degrees. We needed to start way in advance, making sure we had good fluids through our body a week before.
Electrolytes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. We've got a doctor with us, with the race team, and he ensures that we're putting the right things in our body at the right times. Mm-hmm. And then nutrition is really boring. For me, it's just chicken, pasta with some veg. Okay. And that's most meals when I get to the racetrack.
For a week then?
Pretty much.
Really?
Pretty much for a week. But, good fuel equals good performance. If I'm eating sweets and crisps and pizza, it's nice. It's not going to, I don't think it would affect the performance. You can still go out and do really well, but it's not ideal.
What about you, Taylor? You a serious man from a week out, or you?
Of course, it's quite hard to try and give you something different from Sam, really. The hydration starts very early. Obviously, we lose a lot of weight and a lot of fluid during the race, so that's something that you've definitely got to keep on top of. I try to have my main meal before a race 2 hours before, as I feel that when I'm jumping in the car, if I'm too full, it doesn't necessarily break my concentration, but I sometimes struggle. So I'd like to make sure it's well in advance. More carb focused, just because it gives me that little bit more energy, but hydration is definitely 90% of the focus up to a week before. Obviously, it's the finale soon. You've got to prepare for this race nutrition-wise. So how are you preparing it in terms of that?
Yeah, I'd say for me, I think the foundations are the key thing within nutrition, getting those right. I think once you do that, I don't think the little bits on top are other things which make the difference, is getting the foundations right. So I also focus on my hydration. I do an osmolality score every morning, just making sure that I'm on top of those kind of things. That was a big focus for me, especially because we do some heat blocks in the heat chamber just to prepare for this kind of environment, and making sure that's right. So staying on top of that is key. And then before racing, I wouldn't say I'm as serious a week out, but once I get to kind of 24, 48 hours out, I mean, we're very basic. We'd probably just have pure rice, cut out a lot of other things, make sure it's just a pure carb focus. So yeah, it's pretty boring. Maybe a bit of honey and banana with that, but yeah, it's literally just rice around racing. So,
Do you guys have a certain weight that you and your trainers work towards? Because so myself and the car have to be above a certain weight limit. Anything extra is just extra weight that I'm carrying around with the car. So the team are very much a case of, Sam, like we might need you to lose 2 kilos, because for the car to lose 2 kilos would cost millions and millions of pounds.
Sure.
Whereas for me to lose 2 kilos is still a pain, but it's free for the team, but it's
doesn't cost
a lot.
millions.
Yeah, exactly. Is there anything that you guys, do you have a specific weight target in mind when you're on race season?
I think the challenge is getting enough calories in for
Yeah.
us, because
Yeah.
we
I
have
mean,
to take
yeah.
probably 5,000 a day, I guess,
Yeah.
from the amount of training that you do. So
Yeah.
It varies, I guess. Like, yeah, and at the start of the season, you're probably a little bit bigger. You're not as like toned and muscly, and then in an Olympic year, especially, obviously, you try and do everything perfect. So you probably are just like losing a bit more weight, but just naturally, it's not like we don't really have to focus on it and try. Like we're trying not to lose weight most of the time, just because we are doing so much, and with the traveling and things changes. So yeah, luckily we don't have to make a weight, because that would make me very unhappy.
are you guys catered for within your team?
I've got a trainer that I work with at home. Presumably you've got a trainer. When I travel, I don't bring my trainer with me. It's not necessary. We've only got a specific amount of passes for team personnel. They need to be used by mechanics, engineers, the PR team, sponsor people. Like, we don't really have room for Sam, Bird and Taylor Barnard's personal trainers to hold old drinks
Not yet.
bottle.
Not yet is the key.
So yeah. But when I've done endurance racing, so races in other series where races are 24 hours, like the 24 Hours of Le Mans, you will absolutely have a trainer. You'll have a masseuse on site as well once you get out the car, you'll be thrown chicken rice.
Yeah.
You'll have that, you'll then get on the massage table, massage, you'll then be put into a bed, turn the lights off, wake up 3 hours later, right, you're back in the car again, off you go.
How are the nerves for that compared to racing?
Honestly, I find Formula E probably the most nerve-wracking series that I've ever done, because the race day is so intense. Like, when you're doing an endurance race 24 hours and you're with other teammates, it's a sprint, but it's not a sprint. You realise that at the start of the race, you might feel nervous because it's a big race, but if you're not leading after the second hour, it's not the end of the world. You need to be leading after 23 hours.
23 hours, 59 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So Taylor, tell us about the time when you had to jump in with 30 minutes before the race for Sam, because he broke his hand.
Yeah, of course, I think it was a bit less than that, but of course I was sat there as a reserve driver watching this free practice when Sam's had his accident, and one of the engineers actually walked past and said, get yourself ready because you might be driving, and I think this was about 20 minutes before. So the gap between the first and the second session was abnormally short on this particular day. And I think when I was told that I actually had to race, I think it was about 10, 15 minutes before the second session. So it was more, this is what you've got to do, this is the plan. So I was like, okay, this is my run plan. Had to quickly get changed. Then I had to run with the team manager to the other end of the pit lane to sign that I'm racing. Then I had to run back and jump in the car, and the car actually wasn't even finished being built yet. So I think the most nerve-wracking time for me was when I was actually sat in the car and it was still being built, and I was being told over the radio what I had to do. That was the time where I was like, okay, this is actually happening. I'm actually driving. And of course, I kind of got used to the pressure over the years of performing at this kind of level, but I didn't expect this situation to actually come about. So thankfully I didn't really have too much time to really worry about it.
Yeah.
But after being told the plan, you know, like Sam said before, you kind of, you know the plan, you get into the car, you kind of laser focus, and yeah, I did the job.
Well, Georgia, Alex, thank you so much for spending, you know, some precious time with us this morning. But you guys need to get back to training, getting ready for the finale. So you haven't done enough in the pool, Georgia. You need to get back in there. But thank you so much, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thanks
and
for
to you too as well.
Yeah, it was
We're
very
here, it's
interesting.
start of
Thank you.
the season, so all the best, and yeah,
Thank
enjoy
you
it.
very much.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank
Yeah.
you very
Have
much.
fun.